Hey everyone, Michael Bodner here with a very special TesLatino, and today I'd like to take you along with me down to Miami for EVs and T, where I joined a panel discussion on the current state of EVs. So come along with me and check it out.
I originally had this introduction scripted, and I decided to throw it out, and I was thinking if I should come up here with like a Gary V style and just, you know, kicking stuff around, or doing a more quiet Jeff Bezos style, but you know, this is gonna come from the heart. So just want to say again, thank you to everyone being here. We couldn't do this without your help and support. If you're, I forgot if I introduced myself already, but my name is Jehan Kagate. I'm with the launching team of MyEV.com. If you're not familiar with MyEV.com, MyEV is a platform that allows people to buy and sell electric vehicles. We try to drive electric vehicle adoption forward through the power of education. We are super honored to put this event on with our partners at EVANNEX. Please make sure you visit their tent. If you haven't already, grab a raffle ticket. We have some cool prizes that we're giving away towards the end. We have a lot of great partners and sponsors here. Please give them some love. We've got Pro Solar, ampUp, a valuable partner to MyEV. We've got Veg Fest here, and we've got Zero Fuel. We also have Georgia Piolo, one of our sponsors. Please make sure you stop by and support them. We've got our racing simulators by the tents. Behind them, some additional food trucks. Thank you to Motorsport Games for providing those racing simulators. So again, I just want to say thank you for attending. Be sure to use, hashtag EVs and T if you put anything online. We really want to grow this and do this on a normal basis, so it would really mean a lot to all of us. And again, thank you to all of our partners. We couldn't have done this without you. So we're going to start our panel soon. Make sure you stay tuned. It'll be interesting. And thanks again, everyone. I hope you have a really good time.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay. So we'll begin in about a minute or two. All right, guys, like Jay said, thank you. Thank you all for coming. Really excited to have you all here. What we thought would be interesting is to just do a little panel, because there are some hidden celebrities here that some of you guys definitely know, some of you guys might not know, but hopefully after this you get to know them, that really provide a deep insight into an EV industry altogether, right? So we're gonna have two panels today. One is gonna be about the kind of the state of the union of EV, and that's what we're gonna talk about with these guys here. And one a little bit later, so we'll see how long this goes, hopefully maybe a half hour or so. And after that, we will have a future of EV market. So that will be another panel, so another set of individuals. So I'm gonna not attempt to introduce these guys, because that would be probably not enough edification for each one of them. So we'll just start with Tim. So introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about ampUp, and after you guys done with intros, we'll get into some questions.
Thank you. So Tim here. I am one of the co-founders of ampUp.
A little louder.
A little louder? Okay, better now?
Yeah.
Excellent. So one of the co-founders of ampUp. We are an electric vehicle charging infrastructure provider. So the way that kind of MyEV supports more people to drive, we do that similarly on the infrastructure side, to get as many chargers out there and make them as available to everyone that doesn't maybe have a chance to have a home charger for one reason or another. We're a fairly new startup, so we flew in from California, based in Cupertino, and our kind of solutions are focused around peer-to-peer charger sharing, as well as specialized software for multi-unit dwellings, office campuses, and universities. Myself, I've been in the EV charging space for about 5 years, and clean energy for about 10 years. So happy to talk about electric vehicles and charging today. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Rafael, wow, let's get right. Thanks. If we don't have chargers, we're kind of run out of juice, the battery, right? So we definitely appreciate your being here. Thank you. Rafael?
Yeah, hi. My name is Rafael Santoni. I am the founder of the Tesla Owners South Florida Club. Yeah, thank you.
Hey!
I'm also a very big advocate of all things EV, the lifestyle, the journey, the benefits, all those things. I have a YouTube channel called TesLatino. You see me on Twitter and YouTube all the time. But mainly I'm here to, help educate, share my story, and just super happy to be here.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael.
All right. Hi everyone. I'm Michael Bodner. I run a YouTube channel called TesLatino. I'm also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and basically everywhere else. I know two speeds, 0 and 100. So as soon as I heard about this thing called the Model 3, that was it for me. I am all in on EVs, but all of them, not just Teslas. And I'm excited to be here and talk about them.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. All right, Kyle.
Hey guys, I'm Kyle from out of Spec Motoring. We have a small but growing YouTube channel, but we focus a lot on partners with OEMs and charging networks. We have an in-house racetrack where we can do vehicle dynamics testing, thermal management, and basically help other manufacturers get to the point of Tesla, which hasn't happened under full respect yet, but I'm excited for the future. Anyway, thanks for having me here, Dmitry.
Thanks. All right, then I'm Dmitry. I'm the founder of myev.com. Basically, if you didn't recall what Jay said before, what myev is, think of Auto Trader for electric vehicles. That's as simple as I could say it. So, all right, guys, let's begin. So the panel is about the state of EVs today. So why don't we start with a kind of a simple question, right? The EV movement is happening worldwide, and in some places of the world, it's happening faster than others. So why do you guys think the US sales of electric vehicles are lagging behind some other countries that are being a lot more progressive about it? The adoption is happening first. So, why don't, Kyle, I'll start with you as the beginning, and you guys jump in.
Yeah, well, I think Tesla's actually done a really good job with spurring electric mobility in the US. The thing is, other markets such as Norway have great tax incentives and amazing charging networks. Some of the money came from the governments to help put that in, although now we're starting to see the free market move to the charging area, which means there's more and more chargers available. Basically, people want to see a couple things. They want to see ease of travel, ease of charging, and low cost of ownership, as well as, I guess, fun transportation. So I would say the US is not as far behind as some people would think, but we're definitely catching up to some of the bigger players.
Yep, and so I would add some of the struggles we're seeing is the legacy automakers, they want to sell gas cars because those cars require a lot of service, and that's where they make all of their money. So I walk into a Chevy dealership and I ask to go check out a Bolt, and they say, let me show you these 5 other cars. The dealer doesn't necessarily want to sell that Bolt, and I think that's what we really have to work through. I want to go buy the Bolt. I don't care what the dealer wants to sell me, and as that happens more and more, they'll be forced to adapt to it.
It's a great point. And we actually have a gray Bolt over there in a lot, in case some of you guys haven't seen it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I also think that the lack of proper EV building infrastructure from the other manufacturers that are not Tesla is probably holding them back a little bit here in the US. So I think that once they figure out how to, do both things at the same time, start phasing out the gas-powered vehicles, everything in the US itself will probably ramp up pretty quick. So
it makes sense. There's a lot of infrastructure and charging aspect of it. So Tim, what do you say about that?
Yeah, I'd say US is tricky for that because it's a big country, very spread. So building any kind of infrastructure is not easy. It takes time, and the nice thing is that there's a lot of players that are being involved with it. So it's gonna keep growing. I know, especially here in Florida, Florida Power and Light has recently published some public programs, so there will be more chargers in the state of Florida very soon. I do also want to touch on the previous topic around EVs, and one of the big statements I think this year was around the Mach-E and the Hummer. So the main automakers are putting their flagship brands in electric. I think that's a huge statement that's going to change the market very soon.
And that's a good point, and you guys touched on that. Why do you think it's taken them this long to put some of their flagship products on the line, in a sense, and get them to be EV powered? What do you think it's taken them so long? You start, and we'll jump to you, Michael, after.
Yeah, I'll say it goes back to our earlier points, which is, it's not easy to drive an electric yet. There's an infrastructure challenge, so it's a risk, right? It's a risk to take the flagship and switch it to a completely new drive. But I think it does speak to the fact that the market is ready. As you know, it took a couple of years, but we're there now.
Yeah, so I would add cost parity is probably the biggest thing to overcome. You look at the path Tesla took, low production, really expensive car, a little bit higher production, still a very expensive car. They were using that as a means to get them to really reducing the battery costs and making it so that now you can get a Model 3 at $35,000. Why would you get a Honda Accord? And so you look at the other manufacturers, they have to overcome that challenge. They're not going to Tesla saying, we'd like to buy your batteries and your motors. So they're going to get there for sure. It's just a long journey.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult for manufacturers to convert to electric vehicles, as touched on. They need to sustain their internal combustion business as well as hopefully grow a electrification side. I would say that the charging partners for DC charging has gotten really great. You can now drive a non-Tesla equipped with CCS charging across country on 2 different routes and north-south on both coasts. So we're seeing a lot of manufacturers partner with the Electrify America network, and that's really expanding free use of travel. I actually just drove a Hyundai Kona electric all the way from New York exactly halfway across the country, and aside from one problem that was totally my fault, it was absolutely seamless, and so we're getting there. I think Mach-E is going to be a big step, and yeah, I agree.
I also think that it's a reaction of the market, right? They're reacting to it instead of doing it because they plan to do it. You know, this Tesla storm is taking everybody by surprise. So they have no other choice but to do it. And if you don't have all the pieces in place, that planning takes time. Like it's their fault because they didn't do it sooner, but it's not their fault because they were not expecting it, right? So I think that's part of it.
Do you think, can you guys still hear me? No? Okay. Do you think that the media is maybe is on the side of those, let's call them traditional OEMs, not the disruptive OEMs where maybe Tesla could qualify to be in, right? But do you think the media is kind of on the side of the traditional OEMs putting a wrong emphasis on Tesla stories or other disruptors in the market to kind of help slow the adoption? Do you think media has anything to do with this and not just OEMs?
So I do, but I don't. I think they are in it because they need the clicks. They need the eyeballs, right?
The drama.
Yeah.
The fake news.
Right. I don't think they're being bad on purpose. I think it's more of that's what they're doing right now. The other manufacturers, let's say Tesla's not spending any money on advertising, so they can't really get a lot of that money from advertising and stuff like that. But there's a lot of publications that are actually doing a really good job right now. And not about Tesla only, about everything that's going on, right? I think we as communities, not Tesla community, but EV community overall, we need to come together because even Tesla needs the other manufacturers to be big, even bigger than Tesla. It doesn't matter. We have a problem with the planet that we need to fix. That's one thing, right? So all these things are combined, and I think the media can help also on that end. Maybe they're just reacting just like the other manufacturers to what they have been doing for a really long time. So that's my opinion.
Good point. Anybody to add?
So I would just say, look at the Super Bowl and look at how many electric vehicle commercials there were at that high cost. That's a great step. There was no one else advertising electric vehicles before, so hopefully we see more of it.
Do you guys think with the actual existing infrastructures that these OEMs have, right, that they have to adopt or convert to, do you think that they could do that fast enough? Or are they going to really try to milk the old ones that they have for everything that they have? Or do they really have to hurry up and switch? How do you think OEMs will react to this?
Yeah, it's really all about cost, right? It's what can make the manufacturer the most amount of money, and right now it's probably internal combustion engines.
Yeah.
However, certain markets are going to be phasing these things out. Emission regulations are getting harder. It's more expensive to develop new powertrains that are non-electric. I mean, developing an electric powertrain is probably a 10th or a 20th the cost of an internal combustion engine at this point, mainly because it's modular. So going forwards, we'll start to see platforms being shared. I think the Taycan's a great example of this with the 800-volt system architecture. I think we'll see that used in other Volkswagen Audi Group products soon. And so now you can split the development costs across multiple vehicles, and we'll start to see it. The biggest problem right now with legacy makers, other manufacturers, is the dealer network, as we discussed. It's really how do you incentivize the salesperson to actually sell an electric vehicle? It takes more time, more explanation, and rather than selling 3 or 4 units a day, they may only be able to do 1 or 2.
Let me ask, just for a show of hands, a lot of you either have EV or very close to one. When you went and purchased your EV, which one of you really felt like they knew a lot more about where you're about to get than the salesperson? Just show me a hand. Like when you really went and you walk up into a Chevy and you're saying, I want to see, a ball or whatever, and they don't even know where they are. You guys experience that? So there's definitely that aspect of it. Okay. Anything else you guys think that could help speed up kind of the movement, and not to overshadow the next panel, which we'll talk about the future, but today, what can today happen or is happening that needs highlighting so that the other OEMs are getting quicker in adoption of EVs?
I think the market is showing that. I mean, just look at the stock price of Tesla, right? That if there's no better incentive, there's no better indicator that EVs are working, that price point is right there for everyone. So I think you don't need more than that.
I think that one of the most important things that we need to do is educate everybody about the benefits. Reject all those myths about it's impossible to drive long distances with EVs. It's too expensive for me to buy one. I mean, there's so many things out there that people don't understand yet because no one has taken the time to explain it. So I think it's very important. Like I travel all over the US, and every place where I go to, I take my time. It doesn't matter what I'm gonna do. I just take my time to explain, especially if someone has a wrong notion of something specific, like, oh no, there's no way that I can do that because I can't spend 30 minutes to charge a car, right? When the reality is that all of us mostly charge the cars at home, and the ones that don't, because I have many friends that have EVs that they don't have a way to charge at home. There's places where you can go, and especially if you don't do really long trips, there's many EVs that are good options. So that's my opinion. I think we need to educate, and the kids, right? The children, they know a lot about Tesla, they know about the Leaf, they know about all the EVs, but they don't have the power to do anything. So they will push it in the future. But we need to educate the adults now that can make the decisions at the moment.
Yeah, makes total sense. Can somebody add to the topic? You actually said something that's interesting. So do you think range anxiety is still today? It's still there and still needs education around it? I see conflicting answers. So let's start. Let's hear your take on this.
Yeah, if anyone has seen any of our videos on YouTube, you guys know I drive electric vehicles farther than most people. I think I'm on track for an average of about 100,000 miles per year only on electric, which I drive pretty quickly. My car doesn't have a lot of range at those speeds, so I'd say range anxiety is not a thing. We actually just road trip. My girlfriend got a BMW i3, which only has like 75 miles of range, and we road tripped that thing only on electric recently, and it's totally fine.
What do you guys, those that didn't agree with that?
I cannot agree with that because my company wouldn't exist if there was no range anxiety, right? Let's just be very frank. People still see that friction. I think, there are certain areas where there's absolutely no range anxiety because there's a lot of chargers everywhere, but that's not all of US, that's not all of the globe. So it's a journey. It takes a lot of time to build out the infrastructure. I think there's a big part of the infrastructure is information. So we need more stories like this where people that actually drive EVs, they drive it over long distances and see no pain points. That needs to be more public. And I think that's the big, so when I talk about infrastructure, I always talk about information, and that lack of information of how easy it is to own an electric is still a big issue.
Yeah, so I would say I, like you, have no range anxiety, but the general public does have range anxiety, and that's the biggest thing. They can't wrap their head around the fact that gas is so convenient. I just go to the gas station; they're everywhere, and I fill up. But Well, I don't go anywhere. I just plug in my garage, and I have 0 time spent getting gas. So it's education. That's what it is. And back to your last point, consumer demand. It's all about consumer demand. If the consumer demands that Ford makes an electric vehicle, Ford will make an electric vehicle because no one's going to buy the gas car anymore. So it's as Rafael said it, educating the consumer that these are not real concerns, or even if they live in a condo or a townhome and they don't have a direct access to a plug, that there's a solution, that'll help everyone get over it. And then it'll just make too much sense.
I'll say one more thing. So I had been doing road trips since before I got my Tesla, right? And I once actually had that range anxiety on my gas-powered Mazda. I tell you why, because when you're driving through the US, like, you know, you're driving 3,000 miles and the night gets you when the night gets you, right? And I was in the middle of nowhere, and I was lucky enough, like, when I parked at the gas station, they shut down the lights, so like 2:30 in the morning. I was like, please, I need to charge, otherwise I need to stay here until the morning. So it's all, you know, based on planning, how effective you are. It's really a non-issue.
So, but those that do charge at home, do you guys feel that they still can draw the parallel between it's a similar fact as plugging in your phone overnight and you're charged up and you're ready to go and you talk through the phone, you're not running around with your wall plug and trying to rejuice your phone in the middle of the day, right? Some of us that talk a lot, I guess, do, but most of us don't. And similar situation is with EVs, right? So do you guys feel that there's a big difference between those that could charge at home and could take that luxury and those that don't have that opportunity and have to go, you know, next door somewhere?
I agree. There's a difference, for sure, but it's not as dramatic as people make it seem. That's what I think.
And I want to add, so myself, I don't have a home charger. I drive from San Francisco to Cupertino every day, so it's about 50 miles one direction. All of us at ampUp, we don't have home charging. And there's really no range anxiety for us because we know that there's a network out there that's easily available. But that's something that we do every day, right? Not every single EV driver is in that luxury to really be tapped into what's out there and what's available for EV charging. So I think that does play a bit of a role. I think I want to add one more last point, which is a lot of people think of EV charging as something that's going to take my time away because I have to now stay somewhere for a certain amount of time. I think that's a big fallacy because it's very actually easy to charge your car while you're eating lunch. So you're going to be spending there an hour there anyway, or 30 minutes, or a business meeting that's going to be a certain amount of time. And as long as you plan a little bit to charge during those times, then you have that top up that you need during the day. So it's really about how you actually can manage that with other things. And right now, even our tool included, it becomes a lot easier to do that because you can really manage that process well.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about EVs on the road today. And I'd like to ask each one of you, Kyle, with you starting, your favorite EV today that's available, or let's say is right there. Let's fit Taycan into that category. So it's available, just not to everybody just yet. There's lines and things, right? But name your EV, explain why, and we'll go from there.
So I own a Model 3 Performance myself. I've owned a few Teslas, Model S. We've had X's in the family, 3. No Roadsters yet, but I'm in the market potentially for a first-gen Roadster. I think that's my top. But realistically, if I had to have one, I would take the Taycan. I'm a driver. Like I said, we have a racetrack in-house, so I literally can walk outside of my office and do skids around all afternoon. And the Taycan, I've spent some time with it, is the best option for that for me. And also for road trips, 270 kilowatt peak charging, although the EPA range isn't great. The actual charging curve means I get the same distance after a DC charge as I do on my Model 3 Performance because I leave when the charge starts to taper.
So just to elaborate a little bit, those of us that didn't have an opportunity to drive a Taycan, but maybe a lot of us have driven a Tesla, what's the difference? You still drive a Tesla every day. What's that major difference that you would feel between you have experience with Taycan and the Tesla?
Well, car guys will understand. It is the intangibles that the Taycan is better at. On paper, in almost every metric, of course, a Model 3 performance, a Model S performance is better. It has more range, better 0 to 60 acceleration. But I'll tell you, the Taycan, in terms of feel, that car will place exactly where you want it to go. It has amazing braking power. I'll tell you, my Model 3, after 2 laps of the track, brake pedal goes to the floor, brakes are on fire. The Taycan can handle pounding away all day. So that is, for enthusiast driving, if you like to tear up a back road, right now, even though it's heavy, the Taycan takes the cake.
And footnote, Kyle does not work for Porsche. This is not a paid advertisement, even though it sounded really cool.
Yeah,
like one.
sorry,
Somebody should send that to the VW group guys. Michael?
So for me, it's the Model 3. And I do not track my car. I'm a daily commuter to work, and I sit in traffic every day, and I put my car into autopilot and relax and don't worry about anything. And that effortless driving, plugging it at home and not worrying about it, and the car feels great. Again, not on the track. I don't track the car. It just gives me everything I'm looking for in the right package at the right price. It's incredibly efficient. And I really just couldn't ask for more. I've got 2 little kids. We road trip in it, and it does everything I'm looking for.
All right. TesLatino, if Model 3 is your car too, you have to choose something else.
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely, I love my car. It's nuts. It's a Performance 3, and I love it. But the car that I'm looking forward to the most of the EVs it has to be the Tesla Roadster, the second version.
Oh.
That I have a couple of friends that are expecting one, and I can't wait to see it in person and drive it. I think it's gonna be giving the Taycan a run for its money. I used to road race myself for years, and I can't wait to have a chance to track something like that. I am definitely going to track my car very soon. I have to, right? That's just in me.
Yeah, come on up to the track. You can use it anytime.
For sure, I
One
will.
in his backyard. It's quite convenient.
Yeah, for sure. But I have to say that would be my favorite, the one that I'm expecting, the Roadster.
Awesome. And those of you that haven't seen, we actually have a traditional Roadster over there. So take an opportunity to take a look. It's pretty cool. Thank you for bringing it.
I'll just quickly echo Michael. I mean, I'm a daily commuter, and just having to deal with that on a day-to-day basis. I used to have a lot more road rage. Now driving is very calm. If someone cuts me off, I just chuckle, and that's pretty much it. Like, it just changed my whole experience. It gives me a lot of time back because I can do productive things while the car is driving.
Awesome. All right. Let's shift gears again. Let's go back to kind of this adoption of where we are today. So what do you guys think is still like the biggest misconception about EVs out there? Let's start with you, Kyle.
I really don't know. I'm lucky enough to be around people that understand electrification a lot of the time. I do have contacts and people I work with at OEMs that really don't understand the EV thing. But it's for them, we talk more about the sales side of it. How are they going to be able to sell these cars to people that don't understand? So I would say the biggest holdup is widespread information, but also a lot of people just don't care. They just want to buy a car. It's very difficult to tell someone the benefits of electric cars if they don't even want to hear it in the first place. But I'll use my mother as an example. She genuinely does not know how to fill up gas at a gas pump. She recently got a Model 3, and so now she can supercharge, and her driving range has been extended massively. So I use that as an anecdote often. But yeah.
Is she on the track?
She has not driven around the track, but check our YouTube later. She's coming down to visit next week, and we're going to make her, give her some drifting laps, and we'll make her rip her little Standard Plus around.
And those that don't know, is where your YouTube handle? Just announce your YouTube handle for others?
It's out of Spec Motoring.
All right. Excellent. Michael?
Yeah, so for me, I think about trying to sell Teslas all day long to my coworkers and just pile up the referrals. And it seems the consistent answer is that they're just too expensive. And yet they're all getting Camrys and Accords and all similar class cars. And I say, you realize not only is the standard range Model 3 cheaper or the same price, you're going to spend about 20% of what you spend on gas. And you can kind of see like the gears are turning, and they realize. So it's just overcoming the stigma that they're just a rich person's car, and they don't have to be. And it doesn't have to be a Tesla. It could be even more affordable, depending on your range needs.
Used Smart Electric is the best car on the planet. I just bought one for $2,000.
Wow. And that has what range?
Oh, I mean, you could barely get out of the driveway with it. I mean, it's,
One lap.
it's like, I think 50 miles.
Plugged into extension cord constantly.
Yeah, you just run it. You need a 200-mile extension cord. No, but we have another one, and we do 99% of our driving with our little electric Smart. It's great.
Who knows the actual stat of the average daily commute in U.S.?
30 miles.
Anybody there?
30 miles, I think.
30, 35 miles. So can your Smart do that?
Oh yeah, it'll do. I mean, I think I've gotten
Good.
80 out of it.
Wow, that's quite a bit. That you have a long driveway, my friend. Oh, yeah, you have a track. That's right. You have a track for a driveway. We forgot. Rafael, anything to comment?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I've seen people concerned about, like Michael said, was the price. It's too expensive. They don't realize the benefits. I have a lot of people that approach me in terms of, can I join the club, but I don't have a Tesla? Of course you can. We're here to help and to educate. A lot of people always, I always like to tell this short story about someone that I was explaining how the Tesla Model 3 works to someone, and then someone was walking in and said, like, that's just a glorified golf cart. And I literally, I stopped talking to the other guy and I said, like, what did you say?
Uh-oh.
So, after I was done explaining to him, right, because I asked him, why did he say that? No, he just, he realized that he had no clue. He had no clue about it. The first thing he thought was that the car could not go anywhere. Wow. That I was going to spend a day charging before I can drive a few miles, and the price. And when you explain the benefits of how much money you save in gas, maintenance, all those things, it's a non-issue.
If you just put them in the car and floor it, you have a performance. It'll convince anyone.
I do that.
No questions asked after.
Every week I do that. And every single person that has gotten into my car wants to buy one. It's as simple as that.
What about misconception on charging?
I do want to say something about community versus kind of the macro level. So people in the EV community understand it. So it's really just about expanding that community, because it's very easy to share information, whether that's about different types of EVs or about the charging infrastructure. So really it's about educating the rest of the world. And I think, that's a slow process, because you have to get into the earlier topic, which is media, like, how do you start getting more into the mainstream? But I think, that's the beautiful thing about the internet today, because there's so many, like, the right kind of channels for education. So I think, that's still a big barrier, because there's still an average driver that still thinks there's range anxiety, there's low performance, all those things that we as the EV community know it doesn't exist. So I think it's just spreading the information out more. And going back to your infrastructure question, I think that's the big part too, is like the information infrastructure. How can we spread it? How can we get more people to know just the basics?
Awesome. You guys are a little bit quiet, so I want to open it up to any questions you guys have about what is the state of EV, let's say, union today. If you guys have anything for these, there's a mic if you'd like to, or you're welcome to shout it out.
I don't have a Tesla or an electric vehicle yet. I am considering a Tesla. Several of my friends bought one or buying. I just drove one here. It's fantastic. And I'm a car guy. What I don't see in just a little bit of work that I've been doing in trying to educate myself, I don't see what role the manufacturers are taking to educate the public. It doesn't seem to me, and I come from a company that grew strictly through customer relations. Enormous. Why, or am I getting the wrong guy on the phone, or how do you get Tesla or one of these companies to educate the public?
So you're saying main question is, why are these OEMs are not educating the public about it? So if they are, they're doing it only about maybe a marketing or commercial about their product, and that's it. What do you guys think?
Well, just starting with Tesla, since you're interested in a Tesla, I think their biggest challenge is that they can't make the cars fast enough. So the motivation to spend money on the education process just to get a deeper backlog of cars they can't produce is probably where they're at right now. I can't speak to the others, but when we get to the point where demand starts to taper off a little bit, you're going to see Tesla start to ramp up that effort into why this is so critical. But right now, the fans and you go in your friend's car and you see it and you want it, that's carrying them forward right now.
It's not a great feeling.
I agree with you.
Anybody?
The Tesla owners sell the Teslas.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Well, that's a marketing thing. That's great. But
Yeah, I think that
company's responsibility.
I think that the opposite happens with the other manufacturers, right? Tesla's in a position where everyone that learns about it wants one, and like Michael was saying, they don't make them fast enough, right? The other manufacturers are still selling. They're making a ton of money with the other cars, and they're struggling trying to find a way of, putting them to market. So I think it's probably counterproductive, especially like the manufacturers don't control the dealers completely. The dealers are pushing the cars out. Remember, the EVs have a lot less moving parts. They break a lot less. So there's really, I think I've even heard numbers like 80% of the income from those manufacturers coming from repairs, right? Parts and labor that the dealers have to, get people in there. And if the cars don't break, they don't have any incentive, right? So I think it's a really mixed bag of things.
And I just want to quickly say, kind of U.S. versus international. I think when you look at some international OEMs, traditional OEMs, they are doing a lot more into pushing, more of the electric models. I think the big U.S. players are still a bit slower, but that's also because they're a lot bigger too. When you're talking about producing millions and millions of cars and having to switch that to electric, it's a slower process. And we all know automakers are not the fastest moving companies in the world.
yeah, for sure. Thank you for the question. Next.
Hi, John Dunnigan.
Sorry, John. Our mic. Can we get that mic working, please?
Just a second.
How about now?
Hello? Oh.
Yep.
There you go.
Hi, John Dunnigan, Delray Beach. For the South Floridians on the panel, which of you has driven the entirety of Alligator Alley to Naples?
I'm sure Rafael has.
No?
I haven't. I don't know why, but I haven't.
You've gone everywhere else.
I know. I usually go north. I just leave the state.
I just drove to Venice this morning.
Cool.
Oh, wow, there you go.
Well, the reason I ask is because there's nothing on there for recharge.
There's a new supercharger coming, actually on Alligator Alley.
Right, because I submitted it through the Tesla charging
Thank you, John.
suggestion
Thank you.
app.
Thank you. What a lead way to.
Yeah, you need to make it to Naples right now.
Well, the infrastructure on the Naples side is terrible, but that's another story for another day. But for Tesla, you can all do this. You can go on the Tesla website, and where you see a geographical need for a new charger, you can identify that spot and send it in to Tesla for a suggestion. They will follow up on it, like they did at Mikosuki Service Plaza for me at Exit 47. So theirs is almost in. But I'm wondering also what kind of recourse is there for the other charging networks? How do you make a new one where there needs to be a new one for
Actually, I was going to say for all of the non-Tesla drivers, we actually have the exact same feature. It's as simple as dropping a pin on the map and saying we need charging here, and we'll come out and help you. So it's happening. I think Tesla has cracked this a little bit earlier in the game. The other networks are a bit slower, and they have other challenges, but that's where a lot of startup space that I come from actually comes in to help, because we can move faster and leaner and do things that maybe some other players will not be so interested in.
Thanks for that. Next, thanks.
I'm a Tesla addict. Anytime I can put someone in my car to drive it, they're usually sold. The problem is most of them live not necessarily down in Florida, but up north, in buildings that they can't charge it in. And so they like the idea, but they feel, well, I can't charge it for 6 months of my life other than to go scouting around for this. And is there some programs, incentives for landlords, to put in some type of electrical connections in garages? Or I know I just read an article that half the states, the United States, are now putting in conduits in all new construction, so that you can, have power. But that still is a difficulty for a lot of people who would want to get the car.
I guess I'll start with that as well, being the infrastructure.
You're our charging guy, go.
Yeah, I think, as I said, half of the states are moving there. It's going to be all the states pretty soon. But I think there's still also a question of, principal agent issue. So who pays for the electricity? How do you monetize that? How do you not spread the cost to all of the tenants? Maybe some that don't drive electric. So I think, from a technology perspective, that doesn't exist anymore. That challenge doesn't exist. The technology is out there. Like our software does it very easily. Other networks have similar software that allows that simple monetization and kind of just making sure that the right people pay for that cost. So really, it's just about getting more people educated and getting a little. I think what really would help for us as anyone else in the charging infrastructure side is more pressure from the tenants. And more pressure on those multi-unit dwellings and property managers that they have to realize this is not the future, this is today. There's electric vehicles everywhere. There's going to be a lot more of them, and it's not super easy and fast to future-proof. If you all of a sudden change from 2 vehicles to 15 EVs, then you're going to have a lot of friction. So the sooner they start, the better. And I think just keep putting the pressure on the property managers. There's a lot of options out there.
So these options, are they available to a tenant that they can present it to a landlord?
Absolutely.
Where do you get that?
If you want, we can, to kind of clutter the conversation, I can walk you through that offline and how we can kind of work with that.
Yeah.
And it just package the right solution for the
yeah, a lot more people would join.
Absolutely.
The community has to get involved also. There's government programs.
In Miami, is the new law.
They have sustainability. They have sustainability programs that you can advocate for.
So I would say I actually work in property management, but don't shoot me if you hit your board. It all comes down to the consumer. Like I said before, you look at hotels when we pick our places to travel. Now we're looking for hotels that have chargers at them, and it's going to be the same thing with condos, especially rental properties.
Yep.
They're going to want to put the infrastructure there, otherwise they're not going to get the tenants that they're looking for. So it's coming. It feels slow right now, but it's up to us to really put the pressure on and talk to our landlords, talk to our boards. In cases where you're the owner, get the permission to put it in yourself. If it's monetized, even better, because it's low cost to the community or no cost. Absolutely. It could be a profit center.
You can reduce the total HOA cost through this for all the other tenants too.
Thank you. Next question?
Yeah, taking the environmental aspect out of the equation, how does the infrastructure work with EVs not paying any road tax like they do when they pay at a gas station? Part of that tax is road tax. If there's no road tax collected from a charging station, how does the government maintain the roads if EVs are getting more and more popular?
Yeah, I can speak to this. We worked on a program in North Carolina where a lot of that tax we had to, I say we, it really wasn't me, but this was part of the suggestion. They were very concerned about the same thing. You had to average out the basically average mileage of a car and then charge it to every EV in the state, which is not a great solution. But right now, this is where a lot of states are at. You'll see in the news, some states are charging an exorbitant amount. I think we charge $180 in North Carolina is what I pay on my cars. Again, it's a small amount, but it is a problem because most charging is done at home for people. So you can't put your home electricity as road tax. So it's going to have to be a new solution, and I have yet to see one that actually works well.
And I would say, don't forget, gas is highly subsidized as well. So you can move some money around that way, and not if you're not subsidizing gas. Something's going to change, for sure.
Very good point. Thank you.
Okay, hi, my name's Dave. I live up in North Miami Beach, not far from here. I really like this event, by the way. I'm glad you're holding it.
Thank you. Thank you all.
I have a couple questions. All right, thank you. All right, this event is clearly, and by the way, I'm a Tesla Model 3 owner. This event seems to be dominated by Tesla because we seem to be a really big market for Tesla in South Florida. Is that right, everybody? You think so?
Yeah.
How many are Tesla owners? Wow, I think 90% of the hands just went up. Okay, so I have another question too. So as I said, I'm a Tesla Model 3 owner. I got my car just a little less than 2 years ago, and I bought full self-driving afterwards, and I am waiting for hardware 3 to be installed. How many people are waiting for hardware 3? Oh, about a quarter of the group. Has anybody bought their car like more than a year ago and already received hardware 3? I see one hand, another hand.
What I did was just went on my phone app, scheduled an appointment, said I needed hardware 3, and they said, can you come in Tuesday?
Nice.
And I couldn't, so they put me February 21st.
All right, so you're saying use the mobile app and schedule a service?
So I can speak a little more to that. I'm actually getting it on Tuesday. So don't necessarily abuse your server centers, although I did, so whoops. It is VIN specific, and that's not a company line. So they tell you they're going to call you when it comes in. What happens is when people make service appointments, if it's in for your VIN, they look it up as soon as you make a service appointment, and if it's in, they'll tell you it's in, you've got to bring it in. If you have a Model 3, it can't be done mobile. But if you make an appointment for a tire rotation, they're going to check to see if it's in for you, and it might be. If it's not, they're going to tell you it's not, and then you play a game like I did, and you keep canceling your appointments until magically it's in.
Yeah, I hate to go in there for just a tire rotation.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
It'll happen. It'll happen soon.
Yeah, I actually have hardware 3, and we have other cars with 2.0 and 2.5. It honestly doesn't make any difference, except it puts all these little annoying cones up on the screen that are super distracting, I think, but that's all right.
I can't wait to see those cones.
Well, I'll trade you. I'll go back.
All right.
Daddy, when can I get my first EV?
Oh boy.
That's an expensive question right there.
Yes. And it gets even more expensive. I have 3 daughters, so that's one of the 3. We'll talk about our home, honey. Thank you for the question. Thank you. Put pause, 5 years, maybe more.
How can I follow up on that? Hi, I'm Ralph from New York, Model 3 owner, and I have driven it down here.
Oh, awesome, Ralph.
Not on this trip, but I have before. I was just wondering if I can send my question to you. Do you know if any of the infrastructure people have approached any of the gas station people, like Exxon Mobil, as far as putting in charging stations there, making it more... Wawa's? Well, being up north, Wawa's not a big for us, but
that's actually, it's happening quite a bit in Europe, that there's partnerships between gas station owners and infrastructure providers. It's actually happening here too. Some of the local companies have been acquired by large oil, so you'll see more of that. I think the bigger and the trickier question is content, right? So the main difference between EV charging and gasoline charging is that EV does take a bit longer, so you want to be in places where people can grab a cup of coffee or a meal, or maybe watch a movie or something like that, which is usually not the case with gas stations. So they might not make the best real estate for EV charging. But I think you'll see more of that as there's more merging between these companies and more collaboration. I think oil companies see EV charging as a kind of de-risking their portfolio as a way to sustain a longer future. So while I'm not a fan of oil by any means, I think it still helps the overall EV market too in that sense.
They definitely have some balance sheets to park that money elsewhere. Very good. Let's take last question.
I'm Arthur Casanova. I'm from Miami, and I have an M3D. Happy with it, of course. Tesla just installed a level 3 supercharger at Coral Way and 59th Avenue, in case you live in Miami, and that's certainly a very convenient location. The question I'd like to ask is, would you address the 5 levels of autonomous driving, where we are today, who might be the most likely to reach it? Because I have a son who lives in Chandler, Arizona, and he's got these Waymos parked in the corner. He looks at that, there's no driver, and those things. When we might reach level 5, certainly that's a pie in the sky kind of a thing. Yeah. Thank you.
I can at least speak a little bit to this. Well, the SAE 5 levels are extremely difficult to decode, so I won't even attempt to go there. What I will say is many different companies are taking different approaches to achieving autonomy. You can also classify autonomy as a few things. Is it that in a geo-fenced area a car is capable of driving itself around, or is it in any road condition under any circumstances that a vehicle can drive? I've spent a lot of time at autonomous vehicle companies recently. I think what we're seeing now is a trend of timelines being pulled back by companies. We've seen Waymo be pretty quiet. It's really difficult to make a car full self-driving. I think Tesla's vision approach, while it works under great normal driving conditions, they have great ADAS features, advanced driver assistance systems, which is essentially autopilot. It's lane keeping, adaptive cruise control, some lane switching. It's certainly not autonomous by any means, and I mean, we've seen it in the past. They got real aggressive with their timelines. I think that's not going to happen anytime soon. What I think we will start seeing is companies like Waymo with a lot of sensor redundancy and a driver monitor start expanding out of geo-fenced routes, such as Phoenix, as was mentioned.
Yeah, so I would say that's a great answer. I don't have much more to add other than I have no thought that anytime soon my Model 3 is going to be a robo-taxi.
Yeah, definitely don't think that. It is not going to happen.
I think if anyone's crazy enough to pull it off, it's definitely Elon. Yes. But at the same time, just being realistic, just how would your autonomous car drive in here, full self-driving on a paved half rock, half grass parking lot? There's just so much ground to cover. I'll be happy when we get navigated on autopilot for city roads, and I'm sure that's coming this year. That gives me 99% comfort in driving. I'll take the last 1%. I really don't think I'm going to be sleeping in my car anytime soon and letting it take me around, and I'm okay with that. It's just so easy and comfortable already, and it's getting better every day.
Yeah, I think to your point, I think the vision-based systems that is Tesla's approach based on research and talks with people, it will work as long as you have the processing power. But is it going to work during a crazy thunderstorm, a whiteout condition? I'm not so sure. Obviously, we can see with our eyes, but I was driving down here last night. We drove through the night, and autopilot kept going out because cameras were blinded.
I think it's also driver responsibility, right? Like, even though you have all the technology behind you, you're still, driving a heavy vehicle that can hurt others, and so you do have to have that responsibility, regardless of how much automated the vehicle is itself.
Yeah, in terms of who I definitely think Tesla, but mainly because of the data. They are collecting the most amount of data of any company doing it, regardless of how successful they are driving the cars autonomous and testing on the roads. And the other things that I think Florida might actually be one of the first states that has that whenever it becomes available, because it's already approved. If there's a manufacturer that has the guts to actually put an autonomous car on the road and pass all the testing, I guess we could see that, as well as in some other states that it's there approved. No one has it, but I think by data alone, because all the Tesla owners are contributing to that, regardless of whether you're using autopilot or not. The data is there. Like, they see the road, they see the signs, they see all these things, and they make notes. The new computers are much faster to process more data, and I think Tesla will probably be the leader on that.
Yeah, I agree with you on the data part. I don't necessarily agree on the driving who's going to get first and what first is classified as. But no question, a lot of companies are running through million miles of driven. The problem is you can put million miles of 2-lane highway and the car doesn't learn anything it didn't learn on mile 5.
Yep.
So that we're going to start to see a shift from miles driven to actually events that it can overcome, and then we're going to start to see crazy things like Tesla has data, of course. I mean, we've seen like planes landing in front of the cars, crazy things that you can never put into a simulator.
Well, let's please give this panel a round of applause. Thank you.